My background at EDF has been in the area of corporate sustainability. It's our whole program where we work directly with companies on reducing their environmental footprint and doing it in a way that's good for business. So as I've moved over to start working on other issues like climate change, I think there's a lot of overlap and evolution of this work, because I think right now what's most critical and what all of us are going to be talking about is how do we really solve our climate problem in the context of revitalizing the economy. And I think there's a lot of things that we've learned over the past 20 years about how businesses think about and how they can solve environmental problems in a way that doesn't necessarily have to result in lost jobs or lost revenues or those kinds of things. And so we came together in this project. It's a report that we just put out called Manufacturing Climate Solutions. And it's a report that looks at 5 different climate solutions in an effort to understand what are all the businesses that are linked to those climate solutions and what are all the businesses that could grow as we really increase markets for these different climate solutions. I think we've mentioned wind a couple times because it is a particularly great example of how the supply chain gets into very familiar jobs. There are 8,000 parts in a wind turbine, and not only are those many of those very familiar parts like bearings and other kinds of things, there's also a lot of basic raw materials here. A typical, a sort of mid-sized project has 29 individual wind towers, and in that project you would get 6,500 tons of steel. We were looking the other day at how much tons of steel goes into a power plant, and it's only about 7,500. So, we almost have as much steel here as we do in a power plant. 600 tons of fiberglass. A lot of fiberglass is made in the U.S., and concrete is one of our basic industries. You need over 12,000 tons of concrete when you build. This is just one wind facility. So you can begin to see that the numbers really can add up here, and that is one of our climate solutions. We have captured in a database, and we're creating maps so that we'll have a live website where you'll be able to go to your state or district, look at all the companies across that state, highlight one of these pinpoints, and you'll get the name of the company and what they make, and if we have additional information on them, such as number of employees or even a little case study on a few of them, that will pop up. So there'll be a lot of information. So we've done this this is Pennsylvania. I showed you Ohio, just to give you an example. And then I just want to wrap up with one slide, which shows that, I think that we've got some good actual data coming out of California, even Germany and some other places that have really moved ahead, in particular with a renewable portfolio standard, which creates customers. It's a market driver. And in California, once they passed the renewable portfolio standard, which was in about early 2002, they saw a 20% compound annual growth rate in investments in companies and technologies that are related to clean technology in California. Much of this is climate solutions. And that's a great news story. I mean, that's 20% compound annual growth rate in today's economy is fabulous. But the really interesting thing is when they introduced AB 32, which is their cap and trade bill, and actually went to a much larger market driver, that compound annual growth rate jumped to 98%. So it really illustrates that you capture much more of the economic opportunity along the McKinsey curve if you can create a cap that really creates an incentive and a market driver for all of the climate solutions, not just some of them. When we did a comparison with Ohio because we just wanted to demonstrate this wasn't just the Bush tax cuts that created all of this economic opportunity. This is what was happening in another state in that same period. And that's the Ohio picture, which they don't at this point they did not have a renewable portfolio standard nor a cap, so it kind of puts it into stark contrast. This is one of my favorite quotes from Jeff Immelt at GE, basically saying, if the U.S. doesn't buy my wind turbines, I'll go to Turkey, because plenty of other people are going for these markets, and we don't have time to wait because they will be snapped up by other folks.